We're back for our daily college basketball best bets here on Tuesday, November 18th. Yesterday, good day, 4-1. Could have been 5-0 if, I don't know if you guys watched the Portland State C-Sub game. Oh my goodness. I mean, those referees in the Bakersfield and Portland State game, some of the worst officiating I've ever seen. Not saying it was biased one way or the other. It was just, I mean, you could not touch a player in that game or it'd be a foul. There was a flagrant call at the end of that game, which I know, again, it didn't really affect the spread. Portland State was going to cover, but there was a flagrant call at the end of the game that the Portland State announcers were just freaking out about, that they called a flagrant on Bakersfield. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you want to go back and rewatch Bakersfield versus Portland State. Watch the officiating in that game. Some of the worst officiating I've seen all year long, might be even worse than some of the Hawaii games we've talked about earlier this season. Regardless, though, a 4-1 day, a great day yesterday. Let's look for more of the same here on this loaded Tuesday slate of basketball. Obviously, Feast Week is coming up next week, so we're going to have a lot of big games, but for now, again, we have two big ones tonight in Madison Square Garden over in New York. Now, folks, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Later today, we're going to have our NBA best bets on the channel as well. Yesterday, we posted our college football predictions, 4 hours and 15 minutes of Week 13 college football predictions, so you're not going to want to miss that. And later today, we're going to have our NFL predictions out as well for week number 12 of the NFL season. And on Greedo Plays MMA, our UFC Fight Night Qatar full card predictions with Arman Sarukian taking on Dan Hooker in the main event, again from Doha, Qatar. Okay, on to the first of our 5 best bets today. Some really good games, and yes, we are going to be talking about both of the games at MSG, kicking things off with SEC versus Big Ten. Number 17 ranked Michigan State taking on number 12 ranked Kentucky. 3:30 game on ESPN. Not the biggest game of the day, because obviously that one is in the thumbnail. Obviously that is Kansas versus Duke, but Michigan State versus Kentucky is a really good game. Obviously, two powerhouses. Michigan State was dominant last season. Kentucky was good too, obviously. Went to the portal and completely changed that team. They lost, 6 guys to graduation last year. Really retooled that squad to obviously complement Otega Owe. Obviously, the biggest move, in my opinion, Jaden Quaintance. I know Quaintance, still leaves a little bit to be desired for Kentucky, but that dude down low is an absolute monster. Very young still. He was 17, wasn't he, playing at college last year at Arizona State? Now, obviously, at Kentucky. Now, again, for Quaintance not playing just yet, when he does play, though, for this team, it's going to be absolutely nasty. But so without, again, Quaintance playing, because he did not play the East Illinois game, he is yet to actually play a game for Kentucky this season. Without him there starting, I believe, they're going Diabate, I believe, at the 5. Averaging 12 points per game, but again, the player on this team is Otega Owe. Denzel Aberdeen as well is averaging 15 points a game so far this season for Kentucky. This is a player who was at Florida last season, played primarily bench minutes, again, for the Gators, now has come on for Kentucky, and he's been one of their primary scorers. Now, they're taking on Tom Izzo, obviously, and the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State's good. This is a team that we picked earlier in the season. They were good for us. They won a game at home against Arkansas where the odds were really close. And, Tom Izzo does not lose in East Lansing in November. Now, here's the thing. He's on the road or a neutral site at Madison Square Garden against this Kentucky squad. Michigan State, though, 3-0, coming off a victory in their last game over San Jose State. Now, San Jose State is absolutely awful at basketball, at football, at, everything. But Michigan State dominates that basketball game. They really dominate the first half, kind of coast in the second. But really, the game that we can look at for Michigan State this season is the one against Arkansas, a 69-66 victory against the Razorbacks, and a very good victory for Michigan State. Players to look out for. I really like Cohen Carr. I do. I think Cohen Carr, statistically, he might not put up the best numbers. That guy is a game changer when he's playing. Came off the bench last year and put up big minutes for the Spartans. Now he's starting for this team. I really like Cohen Carr. He was, one of these unsung bench players that put in big minutes for them in the tournament and guided them through their big run. Obviously, Jackson Kohler, though, is the guy at Michigan State. Kohler this season averaging 14 and 13 for the Spartans. Puts up 17 points in the San Jose State game, but that's not even the most impressive stat he put up. Kohler had 18 rebounds in the SJSU game as well. Dude has been dominant for this team, as well as their starting point guard, and that is Jeremy Fears. Fears averaging 9 assists per game with 11 points. Fears has been good here in this third season with Michigan State. Obviously, Fears started every single game last year as a redshirt freshman, now starting as a redshirt sophomore. The way I see this game, guys, two teams that are very close. Again, Kentucky playing without Quaintance. I said earlier how much, and there's a reason why I brought up Quaintance. because of how good I think he's going to be. He's going to be a player in the NBA potentially after this season, right? Played big minutes last year at Arizona State. No Quayton still. I think he's coming back sooner rather than later. Last thing I saw on him was that he's going to make his debut within the next month, I think, month or so. So probably end of December onto the new year. Quayton's will be playing. Again, we expect Jaden Quayton's to be the starting five, obviously, for the Wildcats. I mean, again, Otego Oweh can score. We know that Aberdeen's been scoring. Diabate has been scoring as well, the junior out of Queens. Obviously, Diabate started at Alabama, or played at Alabama, started his collegiate career at Alabama, now starting over with the Wildcats. I think Michigan State's fine here. The way I see it, guys, these are two evenly matched squads. And sure, I'm going to take the 5.5 point allowance with Michigan State. Not saying Michigan State's going to outright win it. Like, if I had to make a bet, like, if this was even odds, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't, because I'm not that confident Michigan State can win. Can they remain within 5.5 points of Kentucky? Absolutely. The Wildcats are 3-1 this season. They beat Nichols, beat Valpo, beat East Illinois in their last game, and then lost to Louisville. Again, in between. Went to the KFC Yum Center, played the Louisville Cardinals, lost by 8 points, got 96 put on them. Competitive game, but the Louisville Cardinals won. Michael Brown at 30 points. I think Michigan State's going to be completely fine here. I really think so. I think it's a competitive basketball game. I like what Kentucky has, sure, but they are playing relatively small. I mean, again, you're starting, Muhammad at the 5. He's 6'7". I think we're okay here. I really think so. Or I guess Garrison's actually operating as the 5. Regardless, it's not like, I don't think Garrison's, I think Jackson Kohler is going to be fine down low against Garrison. I think we're fine with Michigan State. Neutral site game. I like the Spartans quite a bit. I think they're underrated. They are. Beat Colgate, beat Arkansas, beat San Jose State. Don't forget how much success this team had in the tournament last season. And yes, Kentucky's obviously a powerhouse as well, I understand. Our blue blood or blue chip team, obviously, in college basketball. But I'm going to take Michigan State plus 5.5. I just think these two teams are too competitive for this line to be where it's at. So give me Michigan State. On to our second best bet of the video. We will go down to some mid-majors before we will end the video on back-to-back big-time matchups. Well, big-time teams with one big-time matchup in there. Next up, we go to Princeton on the road in New Rochelle, New York, taking on the Iona Gales. Give me Iona minus 4.5. Iona's at home. They're 3-0 this season. Beat Hofstra in their first game. Went to Kansas City and beat the Roos and scored 105 points. And then beat the Fordham Rams in their last game by 5. The Gales so far this season, led by CJ Anthony. Anthony averaging 17 and 6 so far this season, is the senior from Columbus, Ohio. This is a player who was just buried on the bench essentially at Cincinnati. Buried on the bench in the Big 12. Comes to Iona. He is the guy now playing 30 minutes a night. I mean, he went from playing 3 minutes a game to 30 minutes per game. He's 10 times his production level, and he's been absolutely massive this season, playing again in the MAAC with Iona. Kosi Akmedu as well is one of their leading scorers, averaging 14.5 points. Akmedu coming from the West Coast Conference, obviously, and Santa Clara. Again, struggled to find minutes in that rotation with a good Santa Clara team. Don't get me wrong, we're seeing a lot of Santa Clara players transfer and see success. Again, Akmedu. How about Christoph Tilley? There's some really good players in that Santa Clara team last season, and hell, there's some good players in the Santa Clara team this year as well. Like, low-key tournament team this year are the Broncos. But Akmedu's been big, averaging 7 rebounds a game and 15 points. So him and Anthony have been providing the scoring so far this season for Iona. Again, 3-0 coming off a win over the Fordham Rams, 76-71, excuse me, where again you had a big effort out of CJ Anthony. For the Princeton Tigers, I mean, the big theme or the big storyline for this team obviously is that Xavier Lee is no longer there. Xavier Lee, consistently one of the best players in the Ivy League. I mean, this is a guy who dropped 17 points back-to-back seasons, 17 points a game back-to-back seasons for Princeton, was probably the best player in the Ivy League. Leaves an Ivy League school to finish out his collegiate career at Florida. I mean, if that doesn't describe, current day college basketball and the transfer portal and everything, I don't know what does. Again, good on Xavier Lee. He's gone to Florida and he's starting for Florida and he's averaging 10 points per game. Big time stuff. He will be playing in the tournament, obviously. Well, he played in the tournament a while ago. Regardless, he will be playing in the tournament. And he's going to be, he's on his starter for Florida. That's a big deal. But losing a guy like that for Princeton's absolutely massive. So Xavier Lee leaves, and now their leading scorer is somewhat matching the production of Lee. That's going to be Dalen Davis. Obviously was on the team last season, had a back seat to Xavier Lee. Will he put up the same numbers as Lee? Probably not. right? I mean, for the most part, guys don't transfer out of Ivies, especially Princeton, because Princeton is one of the better Ivies usually. Well, they have been with Xavier Lee in these last couple seasons. I know last year, right, Princeton didn't win as many games as they were expected to in the Ivy League, but years prior to that, obviously this was an NIT team a couple seasons ago. 2022, they made that run into the Sweet 16, and that was when Xavier Lee was coming off the bench. But they've had guys at Princeton. Don't get me wrong. They lost Xavier Lee, the senior class that left. That was a good class, obviously. Those are the guys who are still, sophomores, and some were juniors in that Sweet 16 run. And now you get this. Again, they've seen a lot of scoring so far out of Dalen Davis. He's averaging 17.5 points per night. But it's it's a Princeton team, that is 2-2 this season. And really what I'm basing this game on, why I think Iona is going to smash them, look at how Princeton played at Akron. I don't think the Zips are all that bad. The Zips were really good last year in the MAC. They won the MAC, and I thought they could play a competitive game against Arizona. They didn't, obviously, but this was a squad last year that lost one game all year long in the MAC. They lost a game on the road in Athens to Ohio, but Akron was really good this season, and they're going to be really good again this year. However, Princeton goes to Akron and gets completely mauled. They lose the game 104-69, which I get it. Akron's good, but you're losing by that many points. They've bounced back and won a couple games. They beat Bucknell, Bucknell lost their best player, obviously. Williamson is now at Alabama. Team's not that great this season in the Patriot League. So a win for Princeton over Bucknell does not move me. I mean, Hofstra beat Bucknell and Pitt beat them by 40 points. I'm not too moved by that at all. And then Princeton beat John Jay College. Isn't that a guy from the Revolutionary Times of America? I think so. Or there's a baseball player named John Jay as well. And then Princeton just went to Kansas over the weekend and lost by 19 points. I think Iona smashes them. I think Iona wins by almost double digits. I think the 4.5 point line, simply put, is just not enough. I know Iona's got scores. I look at Princeton. Who scores on this team? Dalen Davis scores. Who else? Jackson Hickey? The junior who started some games last season. There's not a reliable scorer other than Dalen Davis. CJ Happy, one of their forwards, scored at 17 points in a game, but that was against John Jay College, who's a Division II school. And again, CJ Happy is a starter for this team, but he's a 7 points per game scorer. I just don't have confidence anywhere in this Princeton lineup. I have confidence in Iona. Again, Iona's got CJ Anthony. They've got Akhmedu, two guys who have played, or at least been on somewhat big-time programs, and now have gotten a chance to actually play and get big-time minutes, and they're succeeding. How will Iona fare in conference play? I don't know. I think they're going to be fairly good. The MAAC's never moved me. It did not move me last season. I'm sure, again, I just don't think a lot of the teams in this conference are all that good. I mean, look at Manhattan, look at Ryder. Ryder's not that good either, but Ryder's not who I was thinking of. Oh goodness, who was it? Marist, not Ryder. Marist. I think Marist is horrible, right? A lot of these teams don't score much. Iona's an exception. Like, you look at some of these squads in this conference, they just don't score points. Iona does. I think Iona, they're the only undefeated team so far in the conference, at least, overall. We'll see, obviously, if that sticks. But I think Iona wins. They're at home in New Rochelle. I think this one's pretty easy. Give me Iona minus 4.5 at home against the Princeton Tigers. Princeton is unfortunately not what they used to be, so I'm taking Iona at home. We move on now to our third best bet of the video. We go to a matchup between the UNC Wilmington Seahawks hosting the Eastern Carolina Pirates. Buccaneers, that's Charleston Southern. I'm taking the Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks at home. Guys, going into Trask Coliseum in Wilmington, North Carolina is difficult. It is a difficult place to play. Ask legitimately every single team that went on the road to UNC Wilmington last season. I believe this team lost, 2 home games in the entire year? They lost to Townsend and they lost to Elon. But UNC Wilmington was great last season. They made the NCAA tournament. They won, obviously, their conference. They won the CAA, and then they played Texas Tech in the tournament and lost, but played a somewhat competitive game against a 3 seed. Like, UNC Wilmington was by far the best 14 seed in the tourney last season. At least on paper, they were really good. And really, their results in the CAA showed that. Again, the CAA is a fun conference to watch. Not all of their games are always televised, but there are big-time matchups late in the year in the CAA. You look at the UNC Wilmingtons of the world, the Campbell Camels are fun, the Tribe of William and Mary. There's Charleston's pretty decent usually. Hampton will give you games. It's a good conference to watch. Anyways, though, UNC Wilmington this year has been led by Nolan Hodge. Hodge was a bench player last season for the most part for the Seahawks, did start some games. He's now averaging 19 points per game in his senior season. And again, there is just so much talent on the Seahawks squad. How about Madison Durr, who came from Monmouth, started his collegiate career at the Citadel, then went to Monmouth. He started every single game of his collegiate career at Citadel and at Monmouth. He's coming off the bench now for UNC Wilmington. He plays 20 plus minutes per game, but he averages 14 points off the bench. Absolutely massive. He's the second leading scorer on the Seahawks team. Greedy Williams as well, averaging 14 points per game. And you have Patrick Wessler, who's averaging 14 points per game as well. There are so many good players on this team. Greedy Williams is a returning starter from last season. Wessler was at VTech. He's starting this year for the Seahawks. They are loaded with talent. Wessler, their 7-1 center. They are loaded with talent. I'm telling you, UNC Wilmington probably goes back-to-back in the CAA this season because now, again, they have been established as, okay, we are the best team in this conference. We can go out and now we can successfully enter the transfer portal, and we're going to get guys who have bought in, who had success last season and come back to our team this year. East Carolina, I don't think this team's good at all. They did beat Georgia Southern at the beginning of the season, which is impressive. Don't get me wrong. The Georgia Southern Eagles that do nothing but shoot threes the entire game. Other than that, though, ECU's looked horrible. They won their opening game, but then went to Virginia and lost to the Richmond Spiders. And then their last game, man, went life and death with Elizabeth City State College. The Elizabeth City State Vikings. Usually you either pick city or state, but Elizabeth City chose both. Anyways, ECU went life and death with this team, winning 70-71 on their own home court against it sounds like a junior college, but it's a Division II school. Unbelievable stuff, right? I mean, the Vikings of Elizabeth City State had a chance to win the game at the end. They were down by 1, and they turned the ball over with 2 seconds to go. I mean, they got back into that game, and ECU could not put that team away. They were flipping back and forth, at least, who's leading that game in the second half. So I have no trust in what the Pirates do because of that game. They went on the road, obviously, and lost to Richmond and didn't play a competitive game against the Spiders. They lost by 15 points. I'm not sold with anything that ECU does. They have 2 players, and that's about it. Jordan Riley's one notable guy, obviously averaging 20 points per game. Riley started at Georgetown, went to Temple, now has been at ECU for the last couple seasons. He's averaging 7 rebounds and 20 points per game, and they have another 20 points per game scorer as well. Their senior center out of England in Giovanni Emerju, averaging 20 and 11 this season. Was a starter at Siena a couple years ago, then went to the Patriots of George Mason and came off the bench. Now he's getting a lot of run at ECU. That's great. Again, if you can take away these 2 guys, there is no other scoring on this team. Riley and Giovanni will score. The rest of the team, you don't have another 10 points per game scorer on ECU. I've already spelled out UNC Wilmington. There is talent upon talent upon talent with the Seahawks. And oh, by the way, again, East Carolina's got to go to UNC Wilmington, which I just don't like at all for that team. I think that the Seahawks really put it on them. And really, I mean, not to always compare, just and play, I guess, sports math, if you want to call it, with these squads, but Richmond beats ECU by 15 points. I can't confidently tell you Richmond's better than UNC Wilmington. I know, again, people clown the A-10 a lot and call it a zero-bid league. Guys, Richmond was not a good team in the A-10 last season. I don't expect Richmond to be that good of a team this year. Yes, they beat William and Mary, but they went life and death with the Tribe at home. I think, if UNC Wilmington hosted William and Mary right now, that game's not competitive. So I don't think Richmond's that good, and Richmond completely beat down ECU. So it should be expected, honestly, that UNC Wilmington beats down on East Carolina. So we get a 6.5 point spread in this game, so sign me up for it. UNC Wilmington Seahawks at home. I'm telling you, this team is going to be dominant this year in the CAA, and they're going to go back-to-back in terms of conference tournament champions and go back to the tournament for the second consecutive season, in my opinion. Give me UNC Wilmington. Absolutely love this team last year. They played great basketball, and they're going to play very well again this season. Again, the Seahawks are a force. I'm taking them to win this game and cover 6.5 points at home against the East Carolina Pirates. On now to our 4th best bet of the video, and here we go. This is the game of the day. From Madison Square Garden, we have got the Kansas Jayhawks on the road taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Give me, oh goodness, to say plus 10.5. Oh my goodness, that is actually horrible. Oh my goodness. That is not the pick. Wow, I messed that up. That should say plus 10.5 for the Kansas Jayhawks. We are taking Kansas on the road, or on the neutral site, to cover 10.5 points. I butchered that. Wow, that's really bad. I've been bad with these recently. Wow. In terms of the graphics, that should say plus 10.5 for the Jayhawks. I will fix that in a second. I think this line's too much. I really think it's too much. I think plus 10.5 should be fine. Obviously, again, you know what you get from this Kansas team. It is talent upon talent upon talent. Same thing with Duke, obviously, right? These are two of the biggest programs in the country. Duke obviously has seen a little. I mean, Duke's seen more tournament success recently than Kansas, at least the last 2 seasons. But Kansas has been really effective as well. And obviously, you know Darren Peterson on this team. Here's my fix of the graphic. You like my plus sign there? Awesome. Kansas is a plus 500 favorite. Little surprised by that, but that's okay. I mean, I understand why, because of all the talent Duke has. Obviously, Duke, I mean, their big star last year, Cooper Flagg. I mean, this goes without saying. Cooper Flagg no longer with the team, obviously. You lose Con Knuppel. You lose, obviously, Malich as well. But I'll welcome in Cameron Boozer. We want to talk about elite players in college basketball. That's what Cameron Boozer is. Right? When we talk about the top 3 picks in the NBA draft, I believe it's Darren Peterson, and in no order. It's Darren Peterson. It's obviously AJ DeBonsta, and it is also Cameron Boozer. Here's the thing: Darren Peterson's not playing tonight, and I understand that. At least that's what's being said as of 3:00 in the morning. There is no official, yes he's playing, yet no he's not playing. I'm going into this thinking Darren Peterson's not going to play. And that's why I'm still fine with the 10.5 points. And obviously this would not be 10.5 if Peterson was playing. Peterson played in the UNC game, sat out Kansas's next game against, who was it, Princeton, or Texas A&M Corpus Christi. They thought he was going to be back for the Princeton game and didn't play, and who knows now. I don't think he's playing, because the line wouldn't be 10.5 if Darren Peterson was playing. Right, so in a game that we were supposed to get 2 of the best college basketball players in the country, Darren Peterson and Cameron Boozer, it looks like probably Peterson's not going. And again, that's fine. There are players still on Kansas that I like. I think it's going to be obviously more difficult for them to straight up win, but asking them to cover a double-digit spread, I think is fine. And I know they went to UNC and lost by 13 points. That was a game, though, Kansas was really competitive in. They were winning at halftime. They were finding the mark from beyond the arc, and they just fell apart in the second half against UNC. They let North Carolina score 60 points on them in the second half. And I understand, again, a lot of those points scored by Kansas were by Darren Peterson in the last game that he has played. And you might ask, okay, where do you find the scoring out of? I think, again, Badunga, their center, their Congan center, he's been pretty good this season except for the UNC game. I think he can score. I know, again, there's going to be some unfavorable matchups, obviously, with UNC, with Patrick, their 6'11 center. I get it. He's a good defensive player. I think Kansas can keep it somewhat competitive. And I know Cameron Boozer is going to score. Cameron Boozer right now is averaging 23 points per game, just dropped 35 against the Indiana State Sycamores. I understand. Duke played Texas early in the season, beat them by 15 points. We know Kansas is better than Texas. It's just, again, what are they without Darren Peterson? There is still the possibility Peterson plays. I don't think he's officially been ruled out yet. At least that's not what I've seen. Again, though, just the overall, thoughts that he's probably going to be out for a couple weeks or so. Again, Kansas hasn't reported on it. I'm just going into this assuming he's not going to play. If he plays, perfect. I just don't think he's going to. I still think Kansas has enough talent, though, to stay within 10 points with Duke. I think so. I think they have enough talent. I mean, again, I know Darren Peterson's the best player. I know this team is built upon Darren Peterson, and Peterson, very good chance he's the number 1 pick in the draft. It's either him or DeBonsta. I mean, Boozer's going to go top 3, but I believe, again, DeBonsta and Peterson are better and probably more NBA fit for those top teams. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are going to end up with the number 1 pick and just wind up with DeBonsta in their lap. They're still players. Again, I know they haven't found much scoring out of Peterson just yet, but again, I like their center. I think Bryson Tiller off the bench isn't bad. Not obviously the Bryson Tiller, but the college basketball Bryson Tiller. He has scoring ability off the bench. You look at what Kansas has done scoring-wise in their last game against Princeton. You got 25 points again out of Flory. You got Bryson Tiller now in the starting lineup. Trey White stepped up. Trey White is getting to the rim. He's getting to the rim, forcing foul calls. This is a player who was at Illinois last year, at Louisville, at USC, 4 different schools in 4 different years, started at 4 different schools in 4 different years. But I think Trey White's the guy who's going to have to step up tonight. And I think Kansas can keep it within 10.5. Again, the game doesn't really need to be all that close. Kansas just needs to hang around. And I know, again, the team Duke's got, there's players up and down the lineup for the Duke Blue Devils. Obviously, they are Duke, right? You've got Cameron Boozer. You've got, Isaiah Evans, who's been big. There are so many, they just brought in, obviously, Caden Boozer's obviously not making the impact Cameron Boozer's making. Dame Sarr's on this team. They are loaded with talent, I understand. I just think that Kansas can keep it close. So give me Jayhawks plus 10.5. Full transparency, probably the bet I am least confident with in this entire video. I will say that, okay? Again, we do 5 bets, and I did want to include this game between Kansas and Duke. And again, I do feel pretty good about it. It is number 5, though, out of 5. I'd rather, if you were looking for, what is my confidence level, don't really care about the first 4. Like, the other 4, like, I could slot them any way possible. This is probably 5th of 5, though. I will just put that out there. The other 4 I am more confident in. But I will still take the Jayhawks plus 10.5. I do believe they have too much talent to not keep this game close. If they don't, it just shows what Duke has, And I know Duke has, obviously, they're loaded from, head to toe. I get it. I'm going to take Kansas plus 10.5, though. Final game of the night. I feel really good about this. I know, again, we're going back to the well at Sacramento State. I know Sac State just played Presbyterian, who happens to go to Berkeley today to play California. I don't think Sacramento State's going to lose by that many points. I know UCLA is really good. Guys, UCLA hasn't covered this line all year long. I believe Sac State is better than West Georgia. I don't think that's a hot take. West Georgia, I know they beat the Citadel, but and I know West Georgia might not be bad in the ASUN. I think Sac State could probably beat West Georgia. I'm sure, West Georgia's way higher on the Ken Palm rankings and whatnot. I think Sacramento actually has a decent foundation. I know they played Presbyterian probably too close. They beat the Blue Hose only by 2 points. Whatever. Blue Hose. Whatever. I still think there's enough talent on Sac State to be competitive in this basketball game. And I know they're kind of a joke. Oh, they're trotting out Mikey Williams. He's, here comes Jeremiah Cherry, who's played on big-time schools before. Here comes Shakir O'Neal, who's going to score, 5 points in 25 minutes, Miles Turner-esque stat lines. I understand. Shakir O'Neal is 6'10". He's not even their best rebounder. It's fine. He's only 6'8". Regardless, I think it's too many points. And this is coming from someone who thinks UCLA is really good. I said it before, I think Donovan Dent, I don't know if I can say he's better than Braden Smith right now, but I think Donovan Dent, if he's not the number 1 point guard in college basketball, he's number 2. I absolutely love watching Donovan Dent play basketball. The dude is phenomenal. Dealt with an injury early in the season. He is fine now. UCLA was this close to beating Arizona, and obviously they should have won that game. They choked it at the end. Arizona got hot at the right time. UCLA got cold at the wrong time. Arizona went on their run, and UCLA couldn't respond. And in a game, we're like, all right, maybe UCLA can win outright. They lose by 4 points, and the spread was 3.5. Great. And you know what you're going to get out of UCLA, obviously, right? This is a team loaded with talent. Sure, they lost some guys last season to the transfer portal, but Tyler Bilodeau is still, great for this team. Sky Clark is still a very good player as well. How about Eric Daly? How about Xavier Booker? They are still loaded upon talent. I mean, imagine if this team still had a Dai Mara, who is all the hotness right now in college basketball at Michigan. I told you last year how good a Dai Mara is. Dude's going to play in the pros next season, play in the NBA. Still, UCLA's got talent, I understand. I think asking them to cover 28.5 points, though, is just way too many. Look at their final scores. Okay, I guess we were sold wolf tickets on EWU. Because Eastern Washington, they played UCLA close. They played Colorado close. They went to Seattle and lost by 30. Same team, same EWU team, who goes within their own state and plays Seattle. And I get it. Eastern Washington's like a whole different, it's basically Idaho, Eastern Washington. I understand. But they play an in-state matchup against Seattle U and they lose by 30. That team went to UCLA and lost by 6 points. I mean, look at UCLA's victories, though. I mean, okay, they had to beat EWU's by 6, Pepperdine by 11. Okay, I don't expect much out of the Waves this season. The Waves play New Orleans today, who seems the point-shaving team. And then they beat West Georgia. Team has lost to Arizona. I just don't think Sac State's this much worse than them. I get it. They're kind of a joke. People clown Sacramento State because, Shaquille O'Neal's the general manager. They, have Young Thug perform after their football games. I get it. Mikey Williams, I know Mikey Williams is kind of a joke in his own right. I understand. There are players at this school. I went over this when they played Presbyterian. Did they cover? No. Okay, they fell behind early and they didn't cover. They didn't win us our bet, but at least the team came back and won. I mean, this team's down, double digits with 8 minutes to go, found a way to win, closed it out at the end. That's a big time win, man. Played really good defense late in that basketball game. And I mean, you're going to need to play somewhat of a defensive game against UCLA in terms of you need to bring it defensively against this team with Donovan Dent, with Tyler Bilodeau, with obviously Sky Clark. There are great players in this team. I still don't think Sac State's honestly that bad. Prophet Johnson's really good. I know he only scored 8 points in the Presbyterian game. He closed it out though late, and Prophet Johnson's been nothing but a scorer everywhere he's gone. Southern Utah, Fairfield. Prophet Johnson's a really good player. Probably the best player on Sacramento State. You'll talk about Mikey Williams, you'll talk about Jeremiah Cherry and Shakir O'Neal, Prophet Johnson's very good. He only scored 8 points in the last game. He will score more tonight. I just think 20.5 points is ridiculous. I looked at the line, I was kind of shocked. I was like, sure that's not supposed to be 18.5? And that's the right line. FanDuel right now is showing 28.5 points. And they're showing, plus 28.5 at minus 120 odds. I find it ridiculous. I know UCLA is incredible. I think they're going to be a very good team. I think they're going to go very far this year in the Big Ten. I completely understand. 20.5 points is just way too much in Sacramento State tonight. Okay? I get it. They're a joke. I know. Oh, haha. Shaq's here. Mikey Williams is here. Trust me on this one. I think Sacramento State should cover. All right? Watch this team play. I know they did not beat Presbyterian, but the ability to come back in that basketball game is big time. UCLA this season, by the way, 0-4 on the spread. Not even the West Georgia game where they win by 21. They did not cover in that game. I don't know how big of a favorite they were against West Georgia, but didn't cover by winning by 21. They were 30.5 point favorites against West Georgia. Did not cover. They haven't covered all year long. I don't think they cover here. Give me Sac State here on the road to cover against the UCLA Bruins. This transfer team with Williams, Prophet Johnson, Shakir O'Neal, Jeremiah Cherry, they're being put to the test tonight in UCLA at Pauley Pavilion, and I think they're going to come through. Give me Sacramento State plus 28.5 to close the night. I think the Hornets get it done away from the nest. Folks, that'll do it for our 5 best bets here for college basketball here on this Tuesday, November 18th slate. If you haven't yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back tomorrow for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.